In this video, as a part of a series on Color Picker, the development of the Color Picker app, we're going to be continuing from where we stopped the last time. So if you're wondering how we got here, you need to look at the video that's just before this. So I'm gonna go to Xcode right now to continue where we stopped from the last video. So this is all we have done so far. We've been able to let me just go ahead and run the application we have right now so that you see what we have done so far. So we've been able to create this surface area, which is some kind of UI component and interface, and then we've created these switches, and when you click the switch it changes color, and then you can change each of the colors, and then they are all binary, but I can also change this and add this and mix the colors. So but what's happening here is, if we just do this right, we have a very limited number of colors that we can actually create, which is probably somewhere around 9 colors. So what we want to do right now is to introduce sliders, so that instead of just having a combination of 2 or more colors, we can actually slide on a scale of say 0 to 1 for each of them, and to do those kind of combinations. So that's what we are going to do now, and how we do that is by adding slides. So I'm going to start by grouping grouping what we have, grouping and moving this to the side. So we've grouped and moved the switches to the side, and then what I want to do in order to create space, I'm going to select the top switch, and I'm going to hold down the shift key and use the upper arrow to scroll up a little bit 4 times, right? And I do the same thing with my lower. Click the lower switch, hold down the shift key, and use your down arrow to scroll down 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to think, yeah. So that's what we have here. So the idea is to be able to create enough space so that we can have our sliders and everything properly aligned in. So the next step right now would be to go to the object library and to get the slider, and then place the slider beside the switches. So the plus sign here is where you get your object library, and then we want to type in slider, and then we can drag our slider down here, right? Once you have your slider, maybe move it closer, and you can use the guidelines to keep yourself proportionate. And then the next thing we want to do is, I want to be able to duplicate the sliders, so that I can have 3 sliders each beside each of the switches. And there are 2 ways you can do that. One way you can do it is just to use option. You click on this, use your option, and then just drag down. Or the other way to do is just you highlight the user interface you want to, and then Command D, and then it gives you, and then you can now move down and have it align. So after doing this, we now have three of these sliders all properly aligned side by side with the switches. The next thing we want to do right now is to create the outlet and the actions. The outlet is a digital representation of the user interface, right? The component of the user interface on the storyboard. So I just want to create a digital interface of this here, so and link both of them. right? And then after we've created the outlet, then the next thing is to create the action, which is what moves and makes animates the particular asset or user interface that you have created. So where you want to do, how you want to do that is to also come, notice where we put the former outlets, which were for the switches. That's the same place we want to do this right now, and the way you do it is exactly the same way you did the last one, where you control and drag, highlight, control and drag a component here, and then give it a name, and the name we are giving this is the red slider. Remember, the first switch was red, so we have that, and then we also click control and then drag, and that's where we have the second, which is the green slider. And while you're doing this, you want to make sure that this is, notice that you have action, outlet action, and outlet collection. So you want to focus on the outlet because that's what we are creating at this moment. It's important to pay attention to your outlet and your action. Your outlet is literally like a digital representation of your user interface, and your action is like the method, right, that animates or has it do things, to which it's like the function that you call to have the user interface do something. So then the third would be this: you highlight, control and drag to the point where you want to drop it, and then we call this the blue slider, and you drop. So 1 2 3 are the switches, 1 2 3 are the sliders. So now that we've gotten we've created the outlets, the next thing we want to create will be to create the actions, more or less the methods, right, the functions within the function that would help animate or drive the behavior of our sliders. So how you want to do that is you also use the control drag for each of them, but just see what I'm going to do now. And where do we want to put it? Well, we could literally put this under, so this is one function. Remember, this was for the switch change, so let's put another function under it, and we start with highlight this, command and drag. Now we've commanded and we've clicked control and drag. So next thing you want to do is we want to call it something, right? Let's say slider changed, because that's what we want to do when the slider changes. But you have to pay attention again. Remember, what we are doing here is action, so make sure your connection is set to action. And then what else? The type, you want to set it to UI slider, right? And then you can click connect, and that's you there. So that's what we have created here. So the next action you want to do is you want to go ahead and connect the other sliders to this particular action. Now, unlike in the case of the outlets where you created 1 1 1 you know, representations of each of the sliders, you're using one action, right, in this particular case. So you're creating one method. All of the sliders would be behaving in one specific type of way, and that's why you're using one action. So if we go ahead, for example, to try to create this, and I click control drag, notice what's happening. It's going to go create a second method, and that's not what you want. So what we're going to do here is literally go to this point and connect this to this. That's what you want to do. So, and if you highlight this, you can see the ones that are connected, the red and the green. The third one, which is the blue, has not been connected. So you click here to and drag to the blue, and all of a sudden the blue is connected. If you go back here, all of a sudden you can see all three of them are connected. So right now this method has nothing in it, right? So what we want to do is type in something, and what we're going to type in here is simply going to be update color. Why am I typing in update color? This is the function that does everything we want. All we're just trying to do is, by saying update color, is, remember we've created the function update color, right? We are calling this function. In other words, this whole function or method here is simply a call. This is a call to this function. In other words, it's almost like having all of these copied and pasted there. That's all it is. But then there's one more thing that we need to do. Notice that for the switch, right, it's red switch is on. It's either on or off, right? But what we want to do, remember the slider graduates the color from, say, 0 to 1, right? It's not just 0 1. There's a graduation from 0 to 0 0.01, 0.02, and all of that. You know the way the sliders work. So what you want to do here is to create a color scale, right? A color scale, which is, and how you do that, let me just go ahead and type in, let me open my notes. So this is, I will copy this. Let me move this way. Okay, Command copy. So instead of 1, right, we want it to have a graduation scale. So that's what I have there, right? And what this is literally saying is, I want you to go pick the value of red scale. You know, as you move this, you're getting the value of the red slider. In other words, red slider dot value, you're picking the value of the red slider. But the red scale dot value that you have here actually returns a value of the type float, which is like a decimal number, right? But for the specific purpose of colors, right, you don't use like your regular float. What you use is what you call a CG float, and that actually means core graphics float, right? It's a completely different type than your regular float. So to convert the double that the float that you have here, right, to CG float, that's why we have CG float in bracket red slider value, which is a float. So you're converting that float to CG float. Think of it like what you have, the color scale that you have from 0 to 255. For those of you that have done some colors, right, you're literally converting it to that kind of scale. So you do that for red, and let's do that for green too. Command V, and then we change this to green, and then we do the same thing for Command V, and we do the same thing for blue. Boom. And I think we are good. So we can now go ahead and test what we have done and see how well we did. Okay, successfully built. Turn this on. As we move the scale, the color goes through the scale. See what's going on? We do this, we get the scale from end to end. We do this, we get like scale from end to end. So that's about all we have for this part of the app. We will be continuing again in the next video. I hope you are able to grasp as much as you can in this video. Thank you for watching. Bye.